Hello, welcome back to the Fruit of Grisaia. To end my persistent nightmares, I need only kill the source. 5 days after Yukon spoke those words to me, I arrived in the town where I spent the earliest years of my life. I'm here to pay a visit to my mother, sleeping even now in the local hospital. In this, as in so many other things, I was guided by Yukon's advice. And this kill the source thing freaks me out. There's only one thing for you to do about these nightmares. Kill the source.
殺すこと
That's right. Your sin won't be forgiven. It's just not possible. So if you want to free yourself from this guilt, you've got no choice but to eliminate the source.
その原因を殺すってまさか私のお母さんを
That's up to you. I'm telling you to kill. That's it. You've got plenty of options, and there's more than one answer here. I can't make that decision for you. You have to do this yourself. Presented with this new problem, I began with a serious consideration of the word kill. Interpreting it literally, he was telling me to deprive someone of their life, to cause death. From there, I could find only two plausible answers. The first, as had immediately occurred to me, was to kill my mother. The second was to kill myself, to end my own life. But even now, I'm not confident that I correctly identified the options of which Yukon spoke. True, killing my mother might put an end to my fear of her final question. And if I die, I'll no longer even be capable of suffering over feeling guilt. But fundamentally, I can't help feeling that the act of killing itself is a very extreme way of approaching these problems. Killing my mother would make me a criminal, and killing myself would mean leaving this world behind. In either case, of course, I could no longer be with Yukon. If these were the answers he wanted me to find, was Yukon lying when he said that he loved me? My thoughts ran in circles. Before I knew it, 5 days had flown by, and I was no closer to an answer. In the end, Yukon was unable to hold his silence. No matter what decision you're going to make, you should see your mother first. I think you're capable of that now, Sachi. It's only been a few hours since he spoke those words.
お母さんに会う
The moment I heard his proposal, my heart thudded heavily in my breast. Since the day of the accident, my mother has never spoken, never opened her eyes. She's been reduced to a living symbol of my indelible sin. And if Mom really does resent me, she might not even want to see my face. These very thoughts have kept me from visiting her for many years now. Not to say that the visits I paid her in those first weeks were worthy of the name. Since that horrible day, I've never once managed to spend any real time with her. Perhaps Uncle Akihiro understood how I felt. He didn't challenge me on the matter, or even encourage me to make the trip. In that case, there was no real reason for me to visit that hospital, or so I allowed myself to believe.
でも
In truth, I've just been making selfish excuses. I was running away from my own mother. That neglect is proof enough that I never really overcame my guilt toward her. I was simply hiding from it. As long as I permit myself that cowardice, it may well be impossible to find a meaningful answer to my current dilemma. And so I resolved to face up to what I had refused to acknowledge for so long.
でも殺すしかないっていうのは本当にどういう意味なんだろう
Of course, speaking the question out loud doesn't get me any closer to an answer. Yukon's always 3 or 4 steps ahead of me, thinking on a far higher level. This puzzle must have meaning, and I want very badly to reach the answer he found. But even so, I must admit I find myself disturbed. Merely speaking, the word kill leaves a bitter aftertaste on my tongue and a sharp ache in my stomach.
だからってこんなところで音を上げていた私はまだお母さんに会うことすらできていないのだから。すみません、面会をお願いしたいのです。
はい、それではこちらにお名前とご住所をお願いします。
After filling out some paperwork at the nurse station, I'm provided with directions to my mother's sick bed. The procedure hasn't changed, neither has Mom's hospital room. Everything is exactly the same as it was on that day. At one point, a nurse I recognize from my time here calls out to me. "Is that you, Sachi? Will you be alright alone, dear?" I answer with a polite, "Yes, I'll be fine," and proceed down the hallway without breaking my stride. But when I finally arrive in front of my mother's hospital room, my breath catches in my throat. And with that as a signal, my previously functional legs abruptly turn to clumsy, bleeding stumps. My head begins to throb violently. It's been many years now. Maybe it won't hurt like it did back then. I was a fool to believe such nonsense for even a moment. My body knows that something painful waits behind that door, and it's not shy about registering its objections. Mom's anguished, bloodied face flashes unbidden. Okay. Gradually, even standing grows perilously difficult, and I find myself leaning heavily against the corridor wall.
ちょっとさっちゃん、大丈夫？
はい、大丈夫ですか？
分かったわ。でも無理だと思ったらすぐに人を呼んでね。
ありがとうございます。
Apparently sensing something of the desperation I feel from the expression on my face, the nurse kindly withdraws. To tell the truth, I don't even remember what I said to her just now. Just keeping myself conscious is taking every ounce of effort I can muster.
大丈夫。大丈夫だから。
Trying very hard to convince myself of that, I forcefully throw open the door of the room, letting the momentum carry me stumbling inside. Instantly, my eyes find my mother's face, peeking out from above the sterile white sheet covering her lower body. But the person sleeping in that bed is utterly unlike the mom who remains so clear in my memories. Her cheeks are thin to the point of emaciation. The color of her skin is as pale and waxy as that of a corpse. And yet, seeing her transformed like this brings back, with astonishing clarity, the awful moment when I was first guided into the intensive care unit, the first time I saw what had become of her. She lay there in a nest of unfamiliar machines. A huge oxygen mask covered her mouth. Her body was pierced with IV needles. Medical tubing connected her to strange electronic equipment, and even as the machines hissed and clicked around her, my mother simply lay there, so still it seemed she'd been transformed to stone. When I saw her there, I remember feeling the same way I do now. She isn't the mom I knew anymore, and she never will be again.
どうして私のお母さんは。それはトラックにはねられたから。じゃあどうしてお母さんはトラックには。それはサチがわがままを言ったせい。そう、サチが私をこんな風にしたのよ。
The words echo forcefully through my head, as if someone drilled a hole in my skull and whispered them directly into my brain. Cold sweat seeps from my forehead. My stomach begins to contract spasmodically with an ominous creaking growl. There's a familiar sensation of warmth draining steadily from my body. It's the same chill that usually accompanies the onset of my flashbacks. Tears roll in neat lines down my face, so cold It's fortunate that I didn't eat anything before this trip. If I'd chosen to stop for lunch, I'd likely be vomiting it right about now. That was the usual conclusion to my visits. In the old days, I would empty my stomach. A nurse would come running up, and that would be that. But today is different. Today, no one ushered me in here. I came here of my own free will, resolved to face this. Yukun told me I should see my mother. That advice was an implicit affirmation of his trust in me. He believes I'm capable of this visit. I can't give up now. It's simply not an option. I've come this far to put an end to my nightmares. I won't allow myself to turn back. Clinging with all the stubborn determination I can muster to that simple decision, I somehow managed to hold myself together through the worst of it. And eventually, through an enormous effort of will, I'm able to safely lower myself into the folding chair that sits at the side of the bed. How many hours have passed since I collapsed into this chair? It feels like only moments ago, but the sun's already sinking low in the sky. The unlighted room's illuminated by a warm orange glow from the window behind me. Now that I think more carefully, it must have taken nearly an entire hour to calm myself to the point where I could gaze at Mom's face like this. But it's been many hours since then, and I've gone no further, no words, no movement. I spent the afternoon glued to this chair like a statue. I'm finally able to visit my mother. I can finally look her in the face again. There should be so many things to say, so many things to tell her, to ask her. But now that I'm actually gazing down at her lined, impassive face, the words have betrayed me. They'd melted into thin air, leaving no trace by which I might find them. At long last, I'm able to speak a single word. Is it a greeting or a half-spoken question? I'm not sure myself. There is, of course, no response. Mom's in a deep coma because of the traumatic damage her brain sustained in that traffic accident. She hasn't answered a question or even spoken a word in many years now. My mother's doctor once said that the odds of her ever regaining consciousness were lower than my chances of hitting the jackpot in a national lottery. In other words, barring a miracle, she'll live out the rest of her days like this. A persistent vegetative state. This is her life now, incapable of movement, let alone feeding herself, kept alive on the whims of others like a potted plant. This is the life I gave to my own mother. With that thought, the nausea that had subsided earlier swells up in me once more. The suffering comes to me in unpredictable waves, with all the random malevolence of a curse. Weary and numb, I observe my own pain with a curious sense of detachment, and I reach my first real conclusion of the day. What is this? By visiting my mother for the first time in many years, by directly facing my guilt in its most raw and undiluted form, he wanted to make me realize this. That so long as I live, I'll never simply be released from the suffering. My father's dead, my mother's sleeping, and she's never going to wake up. That's reality. The status quo isn't going to abruptly change for the better. All my guilt, all my attempts at atonement, no matter how sincere, they can never overturn what's come to pass. Perhaps you can simply wanted me to recognize in you how truly crushing the weight of my sin really is.
あの日の事故で 私も死んでしまっていたんだ。
The answer isn't so complicated after all. Mom's the fountain of this guilt. I'm the vessel that willingly accepts it. We're mutual culprits in these nightmares. So long as the two of us continue to cooperate, my suffering will go on indefinitely. In that case, What is this choice? Why? Why make a choice like this? What? No, I can't do either of them. Are you kidding me? Wow.
セーブするわ。
I don't know what to do. Okay. Aw, kill your own mother though, it's so sad. She would want you to be happy. I mean, I'm willing to do the kill mom a little more. Okay.
お母さんを殺すしか
What?
ないのか
Why is this the choice? Mom's the source of suffering. Well, after leaving me that terrifying final question, she spent years in constant sleep, little more than a living reminder of that tragedy. Out of all the choices they can do for this route, why is this it? At the very least, her death would put an end to the pain even now wrecking my body, an end to my fear of her words. And if I want to be liberated from my nightmares, this may be the only means remaining to me. I'm a weak person. I doubt there's a more selfish coward anywhere on the face of the earth. In order to protect myself from my unendurable guilt, I lied to myself for many years. I made the world simple and tried to erase who I was. But I can't tell myself that lie anymore. I can't betray Yukon, who went so very far to make me realize my mistake. In that case, I've got no choice but to find a new way to run from the past. Namely, killing my mother. Maybe Mom's suffering in her own right, being kept alive in such a miserable state. Maybe she'd be happier going up to heaven, where Dad's waiting for her, where she'll never have to see my face again. As soon as the idea crosses my mind, nauseatingly convenient excuses pop up one after the other. I'm a terrible daughter. Even after all the suffering my selfishness caused my parents, all I'm thinking about is how to make life easier for myself. Is there even blood running through my veins? Perhaps it would actually be for the best if I was branded a criminal and sent off to jail. Yes, a real prison, where I could spend my entire life atoning for my crimes. Whatever people may say, I'm afraid Mihama Academy is hardly suitable for the purpose.
だって
The days I spent there were very special to me. Michiru-sama, Maki-chan, Amane-san, Sakaki-san, and Principal Tachibana. Everyone I met there was a truly kind-hearted person, and above all else, it was the place where I reunited with Yukon. The place where he made me his girlfriend, where he told me that he loved me. It was all for more than I deserved. Far more. Far more than I deserved. This will put an end to all that, to my unfair, unwarranted happiness. Therefore.
ごめんなさいお母さん
With the same words I always cry when escaping from my nightmares, I reach out and put my hands on my mother's neck.
ねえサチ今日は何が食べたいサチったらまたそんなわがままを言ってすごいじゃないサチテストで100点を取ってくるなんてお母さん鼻が高いわそんなのできるわけないよだって私はお母さんが大好きだ優しくて温かくて笑顔が素敵なお母さんいつも笑顔にあふれていて笑い声が絶えないあの日だからどん なにお父さんとお母さんが私のことを嫌い、どんなに私のことを恨んでいるとしても、私はお父さんとお母さんのことを恨めない。嫌いだから、この手でお母さんを殺すなんてこと絶対にできない。できないよ。
As I speak, Mom's face flashes before my eyes again and again. Her slightly embarrassed smile when someone said dinner was delicious. That proud grin when I told her about winning an art contest at school. The excited, happy expression she always had when talking about work with Dad. And many more, far too many to count, all as clear as day, the faces of the person I loved more than anyone else in the world. And oddly enough, the next word to leave my mouth is the same one that's been tormenting me all this time.
どうして
Once the floodgates open, the words don't stop. One after the other, the feelings I've kept locked inside flow uncontrollably out of my mouth.
どうして急に冷たくなったの？どうして仕事ばかりするようになっちゃったの？どうしてお前のことが嫌いだってはっきり言ってくれなかったの？
That choice was even harder to make than the Makino one.
私にも何かできたかもしれないのに。それなのに、どうしてあの日だけは私に優しくしてくれ。あの日もいつもと同じだったらあんな事故が起こることもなかった。そうでしょ。それなのにどうしてあの日だけなの？答えてよ。お母さん。
I call out to my mother again and again, but no response is forthcoming. Her sleep is undisturbed. That's the nature of a persistent vegetative state. This is reality. I'll never hear her answer. I suppose I'm going to have to accept it, and find a way to carry on. If I can't run away, I have to move forward.
でも怖いを見る夢ではどうしての次があるんじゃないか。その次に続く言葉は私を責める言葉なんじゃないかって。だからその悪夢を終わらせるつもりでここへ来たはずなのに、結局何もできなかった。私には殺すことなんてできない。事故があった後は全然お母さんに会っていなかったのに、夢に出てくるお母さんはとても怖い顔をしていたはずなのに、こうしてお母さんを目の前にしたら笑っているお母さんの顔がいっぱい幸せで、私が大好きだった。そんなお母さんを殺すことなんて。だからごめんなさい、ゆうくん。
For what? You got nothing to apologize for, Sachi. You did fine. As Sachi kneels on the linoleum floor, I move quietly to stand at her side. She has so much guilt from this. I don't know what to do for her. I don't know much about your parents, but I think I have a pretty good idea of just how much you cared about them. When we talked in the park back then, you were always telling me stories about your mom and dad. Even after we reunited in Mihama, you brought up your parents many times, more than you realize, I think. You loved them very much, and you still do. That much was obvious. And that's the exact reason why you've been so afraid, why you've suffered so much. That's exactly why you've never been able to shake your guilt over causing that accident. It's the same with the final words your mother left you. You're tortured most of all by the thought that she might have hated you, that your parents might have resented you for what happened to them. So in the end, what you really want is to know your parents' feelings. Am I wrong?
そうなのか かもしれません。
In that case, why not find out? Find out exactly what your beloved parents really thought of you with your own eyes.
そんなのできるはずありません。だってお父さんはもうこの世にいない。それにお母さんだってこうして眠ったままなんですから。どんなに叫んでも私の声はもう二人には届かない。そんな状態で気持ちを確かめる方法なんて。
What if I told you it's possible?
いくらユウくんでもそんなことできるわけが。
Have I ever lied to you before, Sachi?
それは。
Here's the thing. I don't know what you're going to find. For all I know, you might end up learning something you'll wish you hadn't. You might end up going through life bearing an even heavier burden than before. Are you prepared to take that risk and learn the truth?
私。
Sachi squeezes her eyelids shut, breaking off in mid-sentence. For a long moment, she contemplates the question. And when they snap open again, the anxiety and uncertainty in her eyes has been replaced with firm determination.
お父さんとお母さんの気持ちが知りたいです。こうして今のお母さんに会うことでその覚悟はできました。だからその結果がどうであっても全てを受け入れるつもりです。
I see. I could never manage to do the same myself. You really are a heck of a lot tougher than you look, Sachi. Take my hand, then. I'll show you what you really need to kill.
本当に殺してほしかった。
That's right. And no matter what answer you find in the place we're going next, I'll be your ally. You said you believe in me. Well, the feeling's mutual. I know you can do this, and if you find an answer that's too painful for one person to bear, I'll share the burden with you. I'll be there. That's not changing, no matter what.
ユウくん。
Alright, I'm done. Want to go destroy the culprit behind your nightmares.
はい。
Leaving the hospital behind, I set off toward the residential district, Sachi at my side.
ユウくんはどこに向かっているのでしょうか。
That's a surprise. You'll find out when we get there.
そうですか。
I intentionally give Sachi a pretty pompous non-answer, but she doesn't take the bait. She's probably too concerned with the whereabouts of the truth I promised her to play along like she usually would. In an attempt to slightly ease Sachi's anxiety, I reach out and take her hand in mine.
ユウくん。
This help a little?
はい。ありがとうございます。
I can help Sachi see her mistakes. I can offer her reassurance and affection. But if she's going to be saved outright, that's not enough. Her parents need to step in. As for how they really felt about her, even Sachi, who spent many years with them, doesn't know, so maybe this is a little presumptuous of me. But personally, I don't think any parents loved this much by their daughter could possibly hate her in return.
ゆうくんが向かっていたのはやっぱり私の家だったんですね。
As I come to a halt before the small house, Sachi finally allows herself to state the obvious. To be more exact, we're heading to the workshop next door.
工場ですか？あそこには金型を作る機械が置かれているだけなはずですけど。
That effect? All I've heard from Sachi's uncle is that her parents seem to be up to something in the workshop a little before her birthday. But hidden in those words lies the answer Sachi's seeking. I'm pretty firmly convinced of that.
そうだったのかって。それじゃどうして工場なんかに。
Sachi. Her mother's final question. Why? Now that the woman's in a coma, we'll probably never know for sure how she intended to finish that sentence. But if a parent who'd been planning something for her daughter's birthday wanted to say one thing at the end, I think it might have been something like this.
サチ、どうしてもサチに見てもらいたいものが。
The answer you've been seeking should be waiting in here.
私の求めた答え。
If you're ready to face it, open this door. With those words, I take the age metal key out of my pocket and unlock the workshop. It's your decision whether to take that step. You can lock this door and walk away. And no matter what you choose, my feelings aren't going to change.
ゆうくん。
So don't worry about me or anyone else. One way or another, you need to put an end to this with your own two hands.
はい。
Nodding with a serious expression on her face, Sachi slowly closes her eyes. There's probably a whole torrent of conflicted feelings swirling around in her head right now. Terror that she'll discover proof her parents resented her. Hope that she'll learn the opposite was true. I can almost see the tug of war between those powerful emotions shaking this small girl's heart. Even so, Sachi's capable of accepting the truth now, whatever it may be. I absolutely believe that.
決めました。私はこの扉を開きます。
With that declaration, Sachi opens her eyes and stares firmly at the entrance to the workshop. You sure about that?
はい。おかしいですよね。そう決めたはずなのに、体の震えが止まらないんです。
Sachi,
でも逃げるつもりはありません。だからほんの少しだけ私に力を貸してください。
yeah. As Sachi's hand trembles against the cold iron, I reach out and overlap it with mine. We take 2 long, simultaneous breaths, then push open the heavy door.
何これ。
Her voice full of surprise, Sachi slowly advances inside. With every step, her eyes grow wider, full of confusion at the scene before her eyes.
あれだけあった機械が全部なくなって、それにこれは。
workshop's not entirely empty. One wall is covered with dusty party decorations. A carefully arranged flock of photographs and certificates crowd the space, contrasting strongly with the dull gray wall behind.
誕生日おめでとう、サチ。
Most eye-catching of all is the large hand-lettered banner above. Sachi slowly reads the words aloud. September 23rd. Today's your birthday, right? From what I hear, you haven't been to this place even once since the day of that accident.
どうしてユウくんがそのことを。
Truth is, after you wrote that letter mentioning me, I had the chance to talk with your uncle over the phone. I asked about your parents' disinterest, and he told me about this place. He didn't know the details, but it seemed as though your parents had been up to something here in the weeks before your birthday. He also told me that you had no idea about any of this.
それでユウくんは私をここに。
To be honest, I was tempted to drag you over right away, but I knew that wasn't going to cut it. As long as you kept hiding from your mother, the person you transformed into a symbol of your guilt, you couldn't possibly face up to the past in any meaningful way. Unless you were prepared to accept anything, you'd be able to interpret whatever we found here as part of your work narrative.
だから一度お母さんに会うべきだってそう言ってくれたんですね。
Yeah. You needed to be a blank slate, so to speak. Given a piece of paper filled to the margins with thick black letters, you have to erase before you can write something new.
そんなことまで考えていたなんて。
You really are amazing, Yukon. Your parents are the amazing ones here. As I speak, I run my eyes carefully along the painstakingly decorated wall. Getting all those machines removed without you realizing would have been hard enough. And these decorations are all handmade. It must have taken them days. They must have wanted very badly to surprise you, to make you happy.
そうなんでしょうか。
I didn't want you to kill your mother. Not the woman sleeping in that hospital bed, at least. That accident was too much for a child to process. Too terrifying. Too painful. Thanks to that overwhelming tragedy, you are imprinted with a hollow, false image. An image of two people who resented you and wanted you to suffer. A hateful illusion you mistook for your parents. That's what you needed to kill. In this place, time stopped on that day. Here's the reality. Your real mom and dad's feelings, preserved in amber.
お父さんとお母さんの思い。
Repeating my words absent-mindedly, Sachi gently reaches out to touch the decorations on the wall.
サチが初めてテストで100点を取った。算数が得意なところは私に似たのかもしれん。
父の日のプレゼントにサチが私の絵を描いてくれた。嬉しくて涙が出た。一生の宝物にしよう。
サチはキャッチボールが好きらしい。将来はソフトボールの選手になるかもしれないなんてお父さんと語り合った。
運動会の父兄参加二人三脚で私がサチの足を引っ張ってしまった。明日からジョギングを始めようか。
私に習って サチが初めて作った卵焼き。塩を入れすぎて塩辛かったはずなのに、お父さんは嬉しそうに食べていた。
サチが苦手だった国語で100点を取ったテストが見つかった。ちゃんと褒めてあげられればよかった。
Along with a series of photographs chronicling the first decade of Sachi's life, the walls packed with tests, paintings, and prize certificates. And on every single one, there's a note from her parents, spelling out their feelings. They're the simple, earnest sentences of two people watching over their growing child with unabashed pride and affection. It's nothing less than a crystallization of pure parental love.
ずっと昔に描いた絵も、お父さんとお母さんには見せずにいたテストも、もしかして全部取っておいてくれたの？仕事が忙しいからって相手にしてくれないこともあったのに、こんなにたくさんの写真も全部。それにあれだけたくさんあったはずの機械だってどこに？
After all this time, her parents' feelings are finally laid bare. After all those years believing my mom and dad hated me. What Sachi's found here is completely incompatible with that long-standing delusion. She's so bewildered, you can practically see the question marks floating over her head. Dropping her eyes from the wall of memories, Sachi finally notices the small wooden object sitting on a table on the far side of the room.
This is your father and mother valued organ. And this letter.
Curious, might as well read it. The envelope, discolored by its long exposure to the sun, still bears the faint letters, to Sachi. Seems they left her an answer after all. Sachi carefully opens the envelope, takes out the letter she finds inside, and begins to read it aloud.
Sachi, まずは10歳の誕生日おめでとう。本当はこの言葉も直接伝えた方がいいと思う。最近サチとはうまく話せていなかったから手紙を書くことにしました。この手紙に私とお父さんが伝えたいことを一生懸命書いたので、それで私たちがまず初めに言わせてほしかった。それはたくさんのごめんなさいです。お仕事が忙しくなって一緒に遊んであげられる時間がなくなってしまった。サチの頑張りをそばで見ていてあげることができなかったこと、一人でご飯を食べてもらうことが多くなってしまったこと、そのことを謝らせてください。本当にごめんなさい、サチ。でも決してサチのことが嫌いになったわけじゃない。そのことだけは分かってほしいの。私たちがもっとお仕事を頑張ればサチを幸せにしてあげられる。だからお仕事が忙しくなってお金が手元に残るようになった時、私とお父さんはこれでサチにたくさんおいしいものを食べさせてあげられる。もっとお洋服も買ってあげられる。でもサチが教えてくれたこと、一人でステーキを食べるより機械の音が聞こえないお家でみんな一緒にカレーが食べたい。その言葉で私たちの考えが間違っていたことに気づかされました。私たちに必要だったのはお金じゃなかったんだ。だから私とお父さんは話し合って一緒にお仕事を大好きなサチともっとたくさんの時間を過ごせるように、あの家で みんながまた笑って過ごせるように。それは次のサチの誕生日プレゼントにしよう。そう。でも私たちが好きだったこの工場がずっとサチに嫌われたまま。そう思ってこの工場をサチが好きになってくれるような場所にしよう。その答えがこの機会のなくなったこの工場は、これから幸せになっていく私たち家族の思い出を飾る記録室。世界中どこを探してもここにしかないたった一つのアルバムです。だからこれからここにたくさんの思い出を増やしていきましょう。それこそこの工場の中に収まらないくらいたくさん。それでサチが笑顔になってくれれば、私たちはとてもサチが楽しそうに笑ってくれていること、それが私たちのことがこの手紙で少しでも伝わってくれると嬉しいです。それからこのオルゴールも私たちからのプレゼントとしてサチに送り。サチも今日で10歳だから、そろそろ好きな人ができてもおかしくない。私の勘だと公園で一緒に遊んでくれているっていうユウくんが第一候補かなと思っているんだけど、違ったかし。でもその子に限らずサチにとって本当に大切な人ができた時、その人と、そうすればサチが素敵だと言ってくれたメロディーが幸せを運んできてくれるかも。そしてその人とたくさんの恋愛をして結婚をしたら、私とお父さんに負けないくらいなんて。それはちょっと気が早すぎたかもしれないけれど、サチの未来が幸せであるようにずっとずっと笑っていられるよ。それがサチに幸せという名前をつけた。少し長くなってしまったけれど、私たちがサチに伝えたかったことは、そして最後にもう一つ、愛してるはまだ難しいかもしれないから、この言葉で私たちの子供に生まれてきてくれてありがとう。私の方こそお母さん、お父さん。
That's the part they want to get you with. Sachi has the answer she's been yearning to find since her childhood. I stand quietly at her side as the tears flow in streams down her cheeks. I can't say for sure how it felt to read that letter. That's something only Sachi herself will ever know. But there is one thing I can say with some confidence. She won't be suffering from those nightmares again. Because right now, the words spilling from her mouth aren't, "I'm sorry, but thank you." And while I might just be a completely deluded, narcissistic moron, I'm pretty sure I also know what the next words out of her mouth are going to be.
私、たった今ユウくんにお願いができました。
Oh, and what would that be?
私と一緒にこのオルゴールを聴いてもらえますか？
Yeah, I think I can do that. Okay. It's over. Oh. Is it over? It is over. That was a little long, but pretty good. Huh. 'I think she would be pretty with long hair too. Yay. Done.
昨日は体育の授業があって久しぶりにみんなでエクストリームスポーツをやったの。あ、エクストリームスポーツっていうのはゆうくんが命名したスポーツの名前で、私が打ったボールをマキちゃんがワンバウンドでキャッチして二塁に向かって走っていたみちる様に投げつけたの。そしたらマキちゃんは肩が弱いからバウンドボールになっちゃったんだけど、平らな地面でつまずいちゃったみちる様がヘッドスライディングしたところにそのボールが乗っかって見事にアウト。 私はその間に一塁へ走ってセーフだったんだけど、みちる様もマキちゃんもすごいよね。
The hospital room is filled with the warm glow of afternoon sunlight. As a gentle breeze blows in through the open window, Sachi chatters on, recounting the recent happenings at Miyama Academy. Unlike before, there's no trace of melancholy in her expression. Of course, that doesn't mean her mother's offering any reply. Even so, her sleeping face looks strangely peaceful. Somehow, it makes me think of a parent affectionately half listening to her daughter's stories while doing housework.
小峰さん、失礼しますね。あら、さっちゃん、今日も来てくれてたのね。
The one-sided conversation is interrupted by the arrival of a familiar nurse, who immediately greets the two of us.
はい、これから検温の時間ですか？
その通りなんだけど、すぐに終わるからそのままで大丈夫よ。
あ、いえ、ちょうどキリが良かったですから、私たちはここで。
そう？それならいいんだけど。
はい。
Still smiling, Sachi slowly rises from her seat. I follow suit, pushing myself up off my undersized folding chair.
また来るね、お母さん。
As she speaks, Sachi gently squeezes her mother's hands.
それではすみませんが、母のことよろしくお願いします。
ええ、さっちゃんも勉強頑張ってね。
はい、ありがとうございます。
After exchanging polite little nods with the nurse, we quietly leave the hospital room. You really alright with that?
何がですか？
Wrapping up the visit so quickly.
はい、今日はこれでおしまいです。
Sachi seems to have grasped what I'm getting at, but her reply is strangely casual in tone. Didn't you have more you wanted to talk about?
それはもちろんです。
So why didn't you stay a little longer like the nurse suggested?
あんまり長話をしてお母さんを困らせたくないですから。
What?
私がお母さんに話さなければいけないことはたくさんあります。今までお見舞いに来られなかった間に私が経験したこと、美浜学園でのことやゆうくんとのこと、それを一度にたくさん聞かされるのはお母さんも大変だと思うんです。
Guess you've got a point.
だからたくさん病院に通って少しずつお話ししていきたいんです。
There's no guilt or bitterness in Sachi's eyes as he speaks those words. They're the shining eyes of a child talking about a beloved parent. I see. Fine, you've convinced me.
ありがとうございます。それよりゆうくんの方こそ私との約束を忘れていませんよね。
Oh, now that you mention it. Something about reverting to childhood and spending the whole day playing in the park, wasn't it?
はい。見てください、ゆうくん。誰もいません。私たちの貸し切りです。
The moment she realizes the playground's empty, Sachi takes off at a gallop, practically floating off the ground with excitement. Today, the two of us are playing in the park where we first met until Sachi's thoroughly satisfied. This is what she chose for her belated birthday present.
ブランコに鉄棒、シーソーにジャングルジム。これは今から日付が変わるまでの時間をフルに使ってもこの公園を満喫しきれないかもしれません。
How are you keeping a straight face right now?
もちろん真面目な話をしています。
As my birthday present to you, I'll accept any one request unconditionally, no matter how spoiled or selfish it may be. From the moment I made my offer, Sachi's been eagerly anticipating this day. I knew the girl never really lost her fundamental love for playing around outside, but it seems all those years of self-denial may have amplified her enthusiasm. You seriously want to go straight through midnight? In some ways, that might be harder than your average ranger training course.
Yu君はどんなわがままでも聞いてくれると言っていましたよね。
Yeah, that's what I said. But can we try to be a little realistic? Human beings do have their limits.
それならその限界までで構いません。さあ、まずはブランコから始めましょう。
Even as she speaks, Sachi's yanking impatiently on my arm. You're not listening to a word I say, are you? I may be grumbling, but for some mysterious reason, there's a smile on my face. This is how it's been lately. We eat our meals together, we talk about nothing in particular, and end up laughing. Every once in a while, she pulls me around like this. Hackneyed stuff, the sort of thing I used to read about in cheap love stories. Maybe the happiness that I wanted to help Sachi find was something as simple as that. Even after visiting that workshop, neither Sachi nor I believed that we'd come to understand everything her mother and father were thinking. The feelings of two parents cut down by an accident in the middle of searching for their distraught child. That's probably something you can't fully understand until you have a family and children of your own. But there's one thing that's clear. The two of them wanted her to find happiness even greater than their own. In a way, that bittersweet knowledge will be Sachi's punishment from now on. A family, huh? At the rate this relationship is going, the two of us might end up married, maybe even have children of our own at some point. Kind of bizarre in a way. I wouldn't have been capable of imagining such a future just a few short months ago, but right now it seems completely natural, even obvious. And if Sachi feels the same way, I don't think anything could make me happier. Hey, Sachi, I've got a suggestion to make, if you're willing to listen.
やっぱり公園で遊ぶのを中止するという相談なら受け付けませんよ。
Yeah, that's not it. What do you think about getting married after we graduate from Yama?
結婚ですか？
Yeah, even if I end up quitting my current job somewhere down the line, I'm confident I'll be able to feed the two of us. And I want you with me for the rest of my life, Sachi.
ということは私、今プロポーズをされているんですよね。
I guess so.
なるほどです。確かに結婚すれば美浜学園を卒業してもゆうくんと一緒にいられますし、それはとても魅力的な提案です。
Nodding to herself, Sachi slowly closes her eyes. Guess it's decided then.
いえ、お断りします。
Say what? Thrown off balance by this 180-degree reversal from her initial reaction, I do a bit of a double take.
だって私より靴を飛ばせるようになったところをまだ見せてもらっていませんから。
Really? The mid-afternoon sun blazing down as if to insist summer is not over yet is thoroughly outshone by a single dazzling smile. That smile belongs to a girl named Komine Sachi, the only child of two people who treasured her above all else, the daughter of two parents who exchanged their ambitions for one simple wish. Oh, you're going down, girl. And today, I'm sure the two of them know that wish has been wholeheartedly inherited. Because the woman I love has found a smile so befitting of the name her parents gave her.
Grisaiaの果実。
Wow, okay, that was different. Very interesting, definitely. About the destroying the school thing, yeah. That was a request that Michiru gave her, and I get that that would happen. It makes sense. Michiru, yeah. And then Sachi went and did that for her. It's a very common conception to think of school that way. Yeah. A lot of people do. I have to agree, yeah. The school is just, it doesn't really have a very good reputation in society a lot of the time. It's a shame. They put so much effort into making school what it is, but yeah. It's just too much. I don't think school should last as long as it does. I actually think school should only be until people are 15. Until kids get to the age of 15 years old. It just feels too long if it's more than that. That's crazy. And yeah, very interesting route, definitely. She was put into a situation where she thought she caused her parents' death, and she felt so much guilt from that. So Yuuji had to be the one to get her out of that. Wow. Very, very moving, very emotional for sure. Bye!